And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today I'm talking about the fifth wave for the Star Trek Attack Wings, the fifth wave expansion. Usually there's 4 ships in these waves, but this time there's only 3. That's because one of these 3 ships is the Borg Cube, which is about as big as any 2 ships or more. I mean, if you consider the amount of plastic, probably as big as any 10. Now, the Borg have always been my favorite bad guys, and the Borg Sphere came out in the last wave, which was cool, but come on, the Borg Cube just makes you cringe with just how scary it is. Now, this is probably smaller than I would imagine a Borg Tactical Cube, but it needs to fit on the board. It needs to be affordable and work. I mean, if they were to make a giant Borg Cube, I'll certainly want to get that too, but this is cool, and it's a neat addition to the game. Now, to be warned, I am not a Trekker. So I do not know all the different terminology and pronunciations or the behind history, but I do like Star Trek Attack Wing a lot. I'm glad that they continue to add factions, a new Vulcan faction, and the Bajorans, and so it just allows a lot of cool different ships in the mix. Let's take a look at these 3 ships. So here's the 3 different models, and like I said, WizKids in the past, WizKids is getting better at painting the models, I think. I think the Bajoran spaceship here looks pretty cool. It's a small, it almost looks like it should be in a different game than a Star Trek game. This one is not as done. It's a little, it's almost too shiny for me. See that shine coming off it? It looks like a toy. Now, I know, they're all toys, but I don't know, there's just something about this one. The Borg Cube, now this is awesome, of course, has a thicker base on it because this cube is pretty heavy. The cube itself, you know, it's a cube, and it has a good heft to it. My only problem with the Borg Cube, I mean, first of all, it's cool, it looks neat, and I'm not going to even complain about the size. Next to another ship, it's still pretty big. I just wish that it had a sense of depth in it. It almost... It's hard to look, you know, with the Borg ship you had like these little spots of green that were glowing, coming out of it and stuff. This looks like a cube coming at you, and it looks like the Borg ship. I don't know, maybe I'm being too picky here. I just wish it had that. Maybe I could have someone do a little splash of green paint on it, would look better. But anyway, that's what the 3 ships look like. Let's look at how they move. So first we have the Bajoran Interceptor, which has a pretty low speed. You can see that the maximum speed is 3, and it has some maneuverability. Now there's no red maneuvers on it, but one of the things that's really cool about this ship is that you can buy the maneuverability upgrade for it. And I would even consider, although it's expensive, buying this for another ship because it costs 5 for the Bajorans, but 10 for anybody else. This ship comes with this template here, and essentially you put it like this, and then you go like this. So it's a way to turn around. Except here you can turn around and kind of maneuver, especially if someone is chasing after you. This is a good chance to kind of, if someone's on your tail, to maneuver around. This is obviously a much more maneuverable spaceship. It's essentially an airplane in space. And of course, I'm just happy to get another template because that's pretty cool. Now the Vulcan spaceship has some maneuverability and is faster than that, but you'll notice there's a lot of red maneuvers. So it can make the turns and things. So, I don't know, there's nothing really special about it. But what there is special about is the Borg Tactical Cube. Now, this moves in a very unique way. If you look at the card here, you'll see that the card shows that the Borg can move straight 1, 2, 3, or 4 in any direction, except it can't move 4 backwards. And a few of those maneuvers are, they cause stress. Now, when you move the Borg ship sideways, here you'll take a 2 template and put it next to the ship, and then the ship basically makes a 90-degree turn like this, and then I can move it 3 sideways like this. So this gives the Borg ship some predictable movement, but some pretty awesome movement. The Borg Sphere moved the exact same way. This one just is bigger and cooler. Here you can see the 3 ships side by side. The Bajoran obviously is a very cheap spaceship. Even with the name, it's kind of odd that the named upgrade is the exact same. So why would you ever use this one? I'm curious as to why they did that. But the Vulcan starship has better guns, and if you hit someone at range 3, you get +1 attack die, so that's pretty cool. And then the Borg starship is just a beast. I mean, with 7 shields and 9 structure and 6 attack. And it also has a special ability on here that lets you regenerate. Essentially, you can use a regenerate action on your turn, and then you recover 1 damage to your hull, which is really cool. By the way, I should mention that the Vulcan ship is a new faction that wasn't in the rulebook, so they had to include a little card with that to show where you go in initiative order. Anyway, the Tactical Cube 138 is even better and bigger and badder than the regular cube, and it has a -3 to add the Borg hull armor. That's this here, folks. The Borg ablative hull armor, which costs 10, although it's only 7 to put on Tactical Cube 138. When you defend, you can convert all your opponent's critical hits into regular hits, and once you take 4 damage, then this card is gone. And so that's pretty neat. It's kind of like some extra armor that you can add onto the ship. You'll notice this has a Borg upgrade in the corner there. Those can only be put onto Borg ships. Speaking of Borg stuff, many of the Borg captains, or all the Borg captains, come with drones. You get a certain number of drones depending on how many this is. For example, the Borg Queen starts with 8 drones. These drones, the number on them is the captain's piloting skill when they're moving around in battle, but also you can get rid of these drones to do different things. Sometimes it's on the captain card itself. Sometimes it's another card will let you use drones. Like, see, here's the cheapest captain. He only gets 1 drone token, while this tactical drone here gets 6 tokens. And whenever he spends a token to reroll dice, he can spend 3 of those tokens to keep his target lock. So whenever you spend your target lock to reroll dice, he can get rid of 3 of the drones on him to keep that target lock, which is a pretty cool thing. Here's 4 of 12. He can get rid of one of his drones to target a ship within range 1 or 3 and get rid of their action token. There's also a thing here you can add an extra drone token to your captain card, but you can't go above your starting limit. So that's pretty cool. Then there's assimilated access codes where you can target ships that are there, get rid of drone cards, and get rid of shields from that ship. And a Borg missile, extra attack, full assault, a tractor beam in which you can pull another ship that's close enough using these 2 tokens to pull a ship close to you. That ship can try to escape, but they better escape because otherwise you will use the cutting beam, which is the most powerful weapon around. Very cool weapon, 10 attack dice. And then if all else fails, you can always buy the self-destruct sequence and blow your cube up, which is, I guess, a last resort, and I think it'll be pretty hard, but I guess if you're going to go down, you might as well take all the ships with you. You basically will roll attack dice equal to your hull value to every ship that's within 1 to 3. So here the hull value of this Borg is 9, and they don't get to roll defense dice against that. So that's really nasty. So that's the Borg. Let's go look at the other folks here. From the Bajorans here, we have, I'm not going to try to pronounce all these names properly, but you can discard her to repair a damage to your hull, so that's cool. There's a lot of cards here that talk about planets. The Bajoran ship is one of the few that can go over planets with no problem. Neela's cool because you can roll 3 attack dice, and if you do 1 critical damage, it hits the hull, even if the armor's up. So that's a pretty neat thing. A warp drive retrofit. This is important because if you reveal a 3 maneuver, you can change it to a 4 maneuver, which allows the Bajoran ship to go just a little bit faster. And we also have phaser strike and militia. So there's a decent amount of upgrades to make the ship better, but it's still going to be a cheap ship overall. Then with the Vulcans, this guy adds an extra upgrade. When she defends, if you have one of those defense tokens next to your ship, you can spend it to reroll up to 2 of your defense dice, which is a nice change. And so the Vulcans are more defensive, I think, than any other ship out there, but they do have some weapons, but they're just not massive weapons. The photonic one here, you can reroll one of your blank results and fire this from your forward or rear arcs. So you can see that the Vulcan ship here has a pretty good front arc and has a rear arc that it can shoot out of too. So that photonic weapon is cool. I'm still not running quaking in my boots from the Vulcans. And then another aft particle beam, which can only be shot from your rear. a sensor grid, auxiliary control room. Now this one I like, and this one I'm tempted to put in other ships, not just the Vulcans, where you can disable this card to get rid of an auxiliary power token from beside your ship. Especially like the Voyager, who is constantly adding these tokens to that ship because they're pushing themselves to the limit. Here's a good way to get rid of them. And then the Vulcan High Command, which I think is in the game more for thematic flavor than anything else, just gives some extra upgrade slots to your upgrade bar. Well, obviously, I'm enamored about this because that's my favorite bad guys. I just like them, and so now I have a Borg Sphere and a Borg Cube to mess with. Or if I want to, have multiples of them to fly around the board. But I think, you know, there's just something cool. It's like the Ogre game Steve Jackson made. Bring in a Borg Cube and just power it up, and then let the opponent pick, I don't know, some Klingons. Bring the Klingons on, or bring the Federation on, or whatever. You know, just bring them on and try to take me out. And that would be that is a cool way to play this, and a lot of fun. The other two ships are cool. Like I said, they keep doing the expansion, so now you can have a Federation ship with a Vulcan, or maybe escort the Vulcan ship, or you know, the Bajorans. My only problem with these Bajorans is I think they're cool, but I think for these to be useful, you probably need to buy like 5 or 6 of them. I don't know that I would want to get 5 or 6, but that'd be cool to have have them swarm the enemy ship, and that would feel more thematic. Almost wish these came like in packs of 2 or 3, so you could do that. But still, more cool, good stuff. It looks like they're not slowing down any time with the Star Trek. This is the first wave that does not have a Federation ship in it, so I mean, it's good. It's time to let the bad guys shine, and I'm glad they're here.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door.
There.